Hey everybody, welcome. Last day from the road. Cheers to everybody who's born with me, and thank you all for coming. I've got audio, so everything's working out okay. This is just going to be a very quick one today, talking about some market observations, what's going on in the world, and let me just make sure, because I don't have my usual setup, everything is working. This used to be called the Quickie segment, where I just go through a quick bit of news, but I don't know, what do we have? We got 21 nuggets. So let's jump in. And of course, as usual, there's edutainment and, excuse me, please subscribe to the channel if you want to amplify your intelligence. So story today, real quick, I'm going to talk about the aftermath of yesterday's court decision, some on-chain data for Bitcoin, Ethereum, some deflation data for Ethereum, XRP happiness, whale action, what they were doing, and hedge funds, how the hedge funds are playing these market conditions. We'll also talk about memes. As you know, I don't do memes, I don't do meme tokens, I don't do meme stocks. In fact, I short meme stocks. We'll talk about how everything, I have a new thing called meme reverts. So first of all, I always say watch what the whales do. And it came to light that the whales bought Bitcoin, $388 million worth, right before the grayscale news. We're talking 30 minutes before the news. So as usual, nothing is completely airtight. Folks out there knew something was happening, which is very dodgy. And per sentiment, this is proof that the whales knew. So you can see here per this chart, obviously the mainstream crowd, the plebs like us, react to the grayscale news and price jump. But before that, 15,000 Bitcoin were added to wallets holding between 10 and 10,000 Bitcoin. So word got out fast, and these folks bought a lot. And that collectively, nearly $400 million worth on the day. And they were handsomely rewarded with that beautiful 7% price jump as well. But we have, of course, mean reverted a little bit since then. So let's talk about exactly other good news from Bloomberg, exactly the chances of a spot ETF being approved. A lot of people still think, they've been waiting for it for 10 years and they think it's just never going to happen. But Bloomberg came out and they predict a very high chance of a spot ETF launching in 2023. Not even next year. I thought Q1 2024. That was kind of my target. But basically, they changed their probabilities due to the Grayscale's legal victory against the SEC. Now, analysts estimate 75% probability of a spot ETF in 2023. They're even talking about this week, which I think is completely ridiculous. But anyway, they said with near certainty in 2024, and the decisive court ruling and the SEC's legal setbacks may make further ETF denials politically challenging, I think was their exact words. And I do expect the upcoming Labor Day decision and September decision to be delayed, of course. So I still remain fixed on my Q1 target. By the way, what are we talking about? Labor Day, for those of you who don't know what that is in the United States, this marks the end of the summer. We're going into Labor Day weekend. We'll talk more about some historical data for the stock market in the next 3 days, as Nvidia is about to hit 500 again. So first of all, let's talk about the 5 to 7 year dormancy for Bitcoin. 1.8 million coins have not moved in that 5 to 7 year range, and it's growing fast. And I think a lot of this, as well as I've always spoken about, is a lot of coins are just lost, but they were lost at different periods of time. But you can see, between Satoshi Stash, etc., that little window has exploded higher. And obviously, as more time goes on, we'll see all of the dormancy increase because every day people lose their coins. So be very careful with self-custody. I had a question come in this morning, and that was, won't ETF be safer for many people than holding their own keys? The answer is yes. That's why it'll open up a huge new market as well for people. Now let's talk about, this is Bitcoin non-zero addresses, again hitting an new all-time high. This is good because we want adoption, and we're up here at just shy of 49 million non-zero addresses. We're hoping once the frenzy comes about, a lot of Bitcoin and crypto are in the mainstream media news, that'll bring more people into the system as well. Now let's talk about Ethereum burn over the last 12 months. A lot of people ask, so how deflationary is it? Well, don't get too excited. It's not bad, but it's nowhere near as fast as it was about 5 months ago. So if you look at this chart, this is from the Ultrasound Money website. You can see we are net down about 307,000 ETH, which is burned. They issued 674,000 and burned 996,000. So again, the issuance is still happening, but it's being outweighed ever so slightly by the burn. So the actual deflation over the last 12 months is 0.27%, which is better than inflation. My buddy was asking for more coffee. Sorry about that. But again, that's where we stand. And it looks like it's kind of bottomed out despite the busyness on the Ethereum chain. Now, back to the case, because it was such huge news yesterday. It was a historical moment. Everybody should remember where they were. But this is the Stuart Elroy. He's the legal counsel for Ripple XRP. And obviously that team is very happy to see the SEC getting battered in court. And it's, in our case, it's been proven wrong, been called hypocritical, lacking faithful allegiance to the law, fined for discovery abuses, and now another distinguished court saying it's arbitrary and capricious. That's a really big deal. In fact, I went to Google Trends and I put in the word capricious to see if it spiked yesterday. It did. It hit 100. Everybody's looking up, what does capricious mean? Anyway, very funny. Let's talk about Binance as well. A huge challenge for people in crypto is getting on-ramps and off-ramps. So this is interesting that Binance are launching what they call, I think it's Send Cash, which is a crypto-to-bank payment platform in Latin America. A lot of people are very concerned about centralized exchanges. If they put money on there and they buy crypto, can they get their money off? And Binance are looking for ways to really help customers do that. They are allowing digital asset transfers through Binance Pay and direct conversion to fiat in users' bank accounts. And it sends cash. Send Cash aims to enhance financial inclusion, overcome payment barriers and blockages of banks, etc., especially in the Latin American market. So it's good to see them grow there. They are also, while they face regulatory issues in places like Russia, Belgium, and the United States, they're hoping they can overcome other challenges in other markets as they continue to grow as well. So good news for Binance. Do I think Binance is going away? No. Do I think they have some problems under the covers? Yes, but they'll overcome. They're too big to fail, perhaps. Now, this is kind of an interesting angle. As you know, I like to watch what the whales do. And also the corollary probably in the traditional markets would be what the hedge funds are doing. And this is interesting chart as well from Bloomberg. It shows that hedge fund exposure to mega cap technology stocks just crossed 30% for the first time in history. There has never been more hedge fund exposure to large tech stocks in the history of the world. And institutional money really believes that the AI hype is the big thing. The question is, will it live up to the hype? I think it's fascinating to watch. As you know, I'm very heavily exposed myself to this particular category, this narrative. And related kind of back to what I touched on at the beginning, memes, meme tokens, meme reverts. This is from Charlie Bolello. It's a brilliant chart, and it shows you exactly, when the meme thing happened with the Reddit groups and silver hands, diamond hands, whatever they call those guys. This same thing happened with GameStop and a few others. It was clear. You look at the financials; these companies are not going to make it. But it still didn't stop the price going up 3,000%. And it wrecked probably a lot of shorts. It made a lot of people, probably on the inside, a lot of money. But that whole concept of diamond hands never sell probably toasted a ton of retail investors. I know people that are still waiting for it to get back to that all-time high of $450 or something, or maybe even higher. I can't remember exactly how it went, but if you look at the chart here, we are right back down 98, 99% from the peak to trough. So that's kind of what happens. As I say, once a turd, always a turd. Everything mean reverts. Check out the financials. These are great things to short if you can weather that storm and not be exposed. Because if you could get that 450 top and just ride it out, you do very well. Now, speaking of hedge funds and memes and shorting and all that type of stuff, this takes us to the Burry short update. This rattled the markets 2 weeks ago when the world found out Burry, biggest short of his life. I can't remember the exact. Oh, there they are. He spent a ton of money on 20,000 put contracts. Insurance is expensive, whether it's for a home or put insurance, very, very expensive. And he bought S&P 500 puts as well as QQQ puts. And per Gergevin, and shout out to him as well, he believes after today's rally, he is down now 53% on his 1.6 billion in shorts, if he is still holding it. Now, you know, we don't know exactly what type of trade he has. We know he spent a lot of money. We don't know how much he was in it for. He's probably quite clever in terms of risk management. And once the trade went against him, he got out of it. But the problem is just the way kind of FinTwit, they read this and everybody's like, oh, Burry's going short per a June filing. Let's all go short too. But that just doesn't work. And again, if you look at what the big hedge funds are doing, and then you look at Burry, you got to pick your sides. Now, another kind of market news, what happens over the next 3 days? I always like to look at history. Now, again, as I mentioned, the Wednesday before Labor Day, this is where we are today, August 30th. Labor Day starts, I think it's 1st of September or something. But this is in the US, they call it the unofficial end of the summer. And typically, the 3 days in the markets before this vacation hits, there's a lot of activity and markets typically go up. And in fact, the 3 days before Labor Day typically do very well. They go up 76% of the time. And typically today is the best. Friday is sometimes the weakest because it's low volume because people already check out early. And Thursday is also very good. So we'll see if that continues, that trend. So far, the markets are looking pretty good. When I look at what's going on right now, again, we have NVIDIA at 497. Tesla just is flat. Yeah, not much happening today, but maybe tomorrow. If history repeats again, it's only 76% of the time that this stuff works. But it's fun to watch. Now, let's talk about Tesla. I did mention them. Despite the Chinese recession, the blue line is the 2023 sales, and they are just smashing records. Despite the weakness in the domestic country in China, they are making a new quarterly record, and sales have never been higher after the second month of the quarter. And this is with 1 week left in the month. So pretty stunning results in China for Tesla. And this is also taking into account changing production lines to handle new models like Model Highland and other things. So selling like hotcakes, which is good. Let's talk about interest rates and the impact on a secondhand car market. You can see here, these are the average interest rates on used cars across the United States. And what's interesting is the difference in rates. So you got places that are dark, which means 12, 13% plus, but everything is double digits. Everything's 10% plus. But using this, if you could find a way to, say, buy in a place called Utah and finance there and then drive to Nevada, and a hat tip to Sanjay for this chart, but this is crushing, you know, buying a car, the secondhand car that's already a wasting asset, financing it at a high rate is really putting the squeeze on the actual car market and the used car market too. Now, a little bit of macro here, a lot of talk of the Fed looking at R squared. The Fed considers the R squared, which is the Taylor rule, to be important because it provides an indication of how well the Fed's monetary policy is working. Now, this is from the Financial Times, by the way, a high R squared means that the Taylor rule is a good predictor for the federal funds rate, and it suggests that the Fed is doing a good job of setting the rate to achieve its policy. Either way, based on this chart, it signifies it may be a long while before we get back to near zero rates. That majestic time where you could borrow money under 3% for 10 years at interest only. Those days will return, but it might take 2 or 3 years to get back there, or one hell of a financial crisis. And final piece of news for today, and then I get back on the road. This is Bill Gates' Landownership by state. Bill Gates now is the largest private owner of farmland in the United States, with nearly 300,000 acres across many, many different places. And historically, the concentration of land ownership reflects inequalities and colonial legacies, but it's happening again. And this trend of mega land ownership by billionaire Bill Gates threatens food systems, land use, biodiversity, and detracting from knowledge and practices of people who used to look after the land in the past. This is not a good thing. A lot of people believe he also has plans for kind of fake synthetic meats and a whole bunch of other stuff. So scary to watch this progression, but we'll see. Mega land ownership. Somebody's always buying out there. So thank you, everybody. Thank you to everybody on Patreon that supports the channel, makes all this possible. And thank you to the mods in the chat. I see you out there, Team D Tesla and everybody else. And I hope I rock and roll. And this is from Mr. Keyframes. Let me see. Bill Gates won't give it all away. He's building something, and people like that just don't let go. Very well said, Mr. Keyframes. There's something going on. He has a plan, and reading some of the stuff online is pretty terrifying. So with that, everybody, see you all tomorrow. Today is normally a face-off day, but it takes like 12 to 16 hours to prepare those, so didn't have time today, but next week, face-off will be back. And of course, the community votes on what we do. So thank you, everybody, for being here. See you all later. Bye.